this number.
Warning, the following show contains conservative posturing, radical Christian ideas, and may offend pagans, Wiccans, Islamic fundamentalists, and other unenlightened individuals. Callers and guests may be subjected to brash and offensive comments by the hosts and any other type of bullying tactics available. But that's okay. We know why you're here.
This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.
Tonight is May 17th, 2009.
And what's up, Phoenix? It is hot out there tonight, isn't it? 100 degrees, I just saw on the old weatherchannel.com or weather.com, whatever it was out there. It is burning up. That's the way it is in the desert in the summertime. You're listening to World of the Unexplained tonight, coming at you KFNX 1100 News Talk, Phoenix, Arizona. This is your host, Jay Scott, and, we deal with all things paranormal here. If you're new to the show, we talk about ghosts, ghost hunters, UFOs, conspiracy theories, aliens, all kinds of weirdness and all kinds of craziness. And tonight we have a guest on. Trent's running a little behind. He'll be right here in just a little bit. But tonight we have a guest on that's a personal friend of mine that I've known for a number of years. We share some of the same hobbies and pleasures as far as the paranormal is concerned. He's more of a what's the word I'm looking for here, D? A doer, I guess. I like to sit on my butt behind a microphone. Yeah, he actually gets out there and into the field, and I've been out with him a couple times, but I'm the kind of guy that when I hear, some strange voice in the dark say, "Get out," I say, "Okay," and scream like a little girl and run.
No, you don't hear any of that. You just hear
Yeah, that's me running away.
Running away in the distance.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, Joshua P. Warren is our guest tonight. He is a author. He is a paranormal investigator. He is everything. He puts together cruises. He's got something going on in your area, actually. So if you want to speak with him tonight, you can give us a call here at 877-722-7382. That number's toll-free anywhere in the United States and Canada. That's 877-SCARE-YOU2. Without further ado, Joshua P. Warren, how are you tonight, bud?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me on the show, Jay.
Hey, man, it's been a pleasure. It's been a long time. The last time we talked to you, you were down in at the Myrtles Plantation getting haunted.
Yeah, that's right. That was a wild experience, spending the night by myself in what many consider the most haunted room in America and hearing this thing banging and beating on the walls all night long until it finally got so bad that I was lying down trying to go to sleep, asking the ghost to please give me some rest. So it was the first time I've ever asked the ghost to stop creating activity. But since then, I've continued to do a lot of traveling, especially focusing quite a bit on the Caribbean. I've been setting down the world's very first 24-hour-a-day paranormal research station at one point of the Bermuda Triangle in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. And I just got back, just 7 days ago from my latest expedition to study some of the ancient Mayan ruins down in Central America to see how they might apply to 2012. And now here I am about to head out to Sedona this weekend for the big UFO Skywatch conference. So times are busy, and the interest in the paranormal is at an all-time high.
You must have such a tough life having to go out to Puerto Rico and... Oh, man.
I have to travel.
It's just so much work,
Nice weather.
Yeah, it's fun, especially when it's really cold and rainy and dreary where I live here in North Carolina. There's nothing like hopping on a plane for a few hours and getting off in Puerto Rico with that azure ocean and that warm breeze. And, I'm planning on having a part-time residence down there. Just
mind you that it's ridiculous weather right now. It's like
it's raining here.
It's like springtime in Canada, maybe. But tell us more about this 24-hour monitoring station. That's news to me down in Puerto Rico. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is really exciting stuff. In fact, I have a rough website that I'm working on, paranormalpuertorico.com, that has some pictures from some of my trips down there. But I'd say in the past 6 months, I've been to Puerto Rico probably 5 times, and so I've been going down there for, over a year. And I really was always interested in the Bermuda Triangle and some of the stories that continue to get told about odd space-time distortions and USOs and all that sort of thing. But it wasn't until I went down there on a cruise that was actually arranged by the A&E television network, and they set the agenda, and they hired me to host a group of about 50 of their VIPs to go down and explore that area. They set the agenda to go to Old San Juan, and when I got there, of course, I know that that is one of the 3 points of the Bermuda Triangle, but I fell in love with how well preserved this old colonial atmosphere is with all of these striking forts, and I became amazed to dig deeper into Old San Juan and realize that even though Puerto Rico is relatively small, it's about 100 miles by about 40 miles, it has extreme examples of all paranormal activity. You not only have ghost stories there, but it is Old San Juan is the oldest territory in the U.S. You not only have stories of UFOs, but you have the Arecibo space station there, the world's largest satellite dish, so it's kind of like Earth's telephone to the cosmos.
Yeah, sure.
You not only have stories about cryptids, but it's the birthplace of the chupacabra. You not only have stories about treasure, but you have the journeys and the exploration of Ponce de Leon, searching for the Fountain of Youth, and you have these chapels of miracles where people go to be healed, and you keep finding that one after the other, you can go down the list of the paranormal, and it's all sort of condensed on this one island, and to an extreme degree. So it's taken me a long time to go down there again and again and get people to open up and be comfortable with me to some degree, because I don't speak Spanish. I'm working on it, however.
Rosetta Stone, my friend.
Yeah, that's right. The $1,000 program.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I also am doing everything possible to be very respectful of some of the cultural significance that the paranormal has there that is very different from how we view things here. For example, here we talk about ghosts. It's no big deal. Down there, you don't use the word ghost. You talk about spirits, and there is a very sort of European Catholic tone.
I see.
Has to be considered. So basically, what I have done now is I have teamed up with some people down there who have absolutely ideal property right in the old city, where we have just incredible views all over one very active section of the Bermuda Triangle and Old San Juan. And we now have been taking groups down there who are helping us build this research facility that will eventually have 24-hour-a-day cameras rolling, and it's going to be taking all kinds of data from the triangle. And do you know that thus far I have taken, probably I guess about 10 groups down there, and I am very proud to say that thus far not a single person has come down there with me and gone home without seeing a UFO.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's pretty awesome, yeah.
I think I need to come on that trip with you.
Yeah, I think so.
You absolutely must do it. Eric Scott has been down there with me a couple of times.
Well, I'm seeing pictures of you right now on your site. Well, actually, this is I think this is from JoshuaPWarren.com. We're seeing pictures. You look like a younger David Hatcher Childress in some of these.
Yeah, you know what? You do, Josh.
An Indiana Jones kind of.
It's kind of weird. I don't know if how you take that.
Especially that picture, that one right there beside the big stone head behind you.
Oh, yeah.
That is really cool. So
completely.
What have you found out as far as in your studies down there? What have you found out about any kind of links to 2012, or can you talk about that right now?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, of course, I really think that what is going to happen in 2012 does have a connection to a place like Puerto Rico. Now, see, the Mayan ruins that I just got back from, they are in the Western Caribbean, so they're a good ways from Puerto Rico. On this recent trip, I went to Belize and also to Grand Cayman, and we were supposed to go to Cozumel and Roatan, but we couldn't port there due to some complications. Big, long story. But anyway, in Belize, which is a rather run-down third-world country, I must say. It's not the kind of place that you definitely, you might not feel secure going there with a really small group.
Really?
And investigating. Yeah, I was kind of surprised. It's very poor, very run-down, And I've heard a lot of stories about kidnappings there and that kind of thing.
You're kidding me. I have a good friend that goes there probably once every couple of years for vacation with his wife, and he's a white guy that doesn't speak any Spanish at all.
Former British colony, you know.
Well, you know what we did to go to these ruins was a little more extreme than what most people would probably do, I guess, because we got on a bus and we rode, way deep into the mainland, certainly over an hour, and then we got on a boat and went about, I think, 35 miles up this winding, dark river on this boat through the jungle with crocodiles and monkeys and pythons. And so, yeah, you talk about feeling like Indiana Jones, indeed. And then finally, you're blasting up this river, and as you get farther and farther along, you start seeing bits and pieces of these ruins kind of peeking out of the vegetation. And when I went to those ruins, I just had a feeling that even though people have been going there for thousands of years, and in modern history, people probably, maybe over 1 million people have gone and visited some of these various sites, I had a feeling that I was going to go there, and I was going to see something from a new perspective.
Sure.
And I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew it when it happened. You see, the ruins that I went to are called Lamanai, and they are the most secluded Mayan ruins known to exist. And because of that, they are not very commercial and touristy. In fact, my expedition group pretty much had the whole place to ourselves. And additionally, it was very successful. It's considered to be the most successful, longest-running Mayan city-state because it was so remote. So it's a really good representation of their culture. And, on the website, as you mentioned, you can see pictures of me standing next to some rather impressive sculptures and things. And there's nothing quite like standing atop this towering Mayan pyramid and seeing the jungle spread before you. And, just the feelings there I can go on and on about. But here's the thing that really stood out for me.
Sure.
Right in the center of the excavated area is the Mayan ball court. And those who are listening who may know a bit about the Maya will understand that they usually had ball courts in the middle of their city-state that weren't used for entertainment the same way we see a sport today.
Yeah.
They used games to determine who would be sacrificed.
Oh, who would live and who would die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so they had these very narrow sort of alleys they would call ball courts, and there was a ring that it would extend from the side of the court. And then a select group of men would sort of compete using this very heavy 10-pound ball of pure rubber, and they could not use their arms or hands, pretty much just their hips and abdomens. They'd have to bounce this thing up through the ring, and whoever got the first score won, and that was usually the person who was sacrificed. In some cases, it would be the loser who was sacrificed. But if you got really lucky, they might just mutilate your genitals.
Oh, how wonderful!
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, the Mayans are all about some bloodletting down there.
Well, that's crazy.
So they would do this in order to rectify the gods that had ascended from above in the past. They have all these stories about this being connected to beings who were once part man, who had gone off, and one became the sun, one became the moon, that sort of thing. So there was this very cosmic sort of otherworldly connotation to why they would sacrifice these people. And so here I am hearing about all this, and then right in the middle of this most sacred site to them, where their sacrifices were chosen, there is this large, round, flat stone. And my guide, who is a Mayan named Carlos...
Now this is what we're looking at now, the liquid mercury?
That's right. He told me that years ago, archaeologists found that stone was the cap of a chamber that contained 131 grams of liquid mercury.
Wow.
And scientists to this day are scratching their heads. They have no explanation for how the Maya and thousands of years ago, obtained this, and why that it would be the centerpiece of their most sacred site.
Giant thermometer, man.
I'm pretty bad about metrics, Joshua. I'm sorry. How much is 131 grams? What would that measure out to be? Because I'm not good at metrics at all.
A bunch.
You know, honestly, I don't know either. I'd have to sit down and do some conversions, to figure out.
All right.
But ultimately, I do know that it was a substantial amount for them to have sitting there right in the middle of this unusual spot. Now, this really stood out for me, and it stood out because the timing was perfect. I have been investigating for months now a lot of the work that people like Joseph P. Farrell and Jim Mars have been doing related to the technology that the Nazis were working on that has only recently begun to surface, because there are many of these documents that we still haven't seen. And apparently there are good documents out there that show us the Nazis were able to go far beyond atomic technology. They were working on this device called the Bell. And the Bell really was their most top secret project. It consisted of 2 counter-rotating cylinders, and each of them were filled with liquid mercury. And when they would spin these things in various configurations, they found that they would not only warp space-time to a small degree and also produce some type of a radiation that seemed to be harmful to organic things like plants that were nearby, but also the overall apparatus tended to lose weight. So it had this almost anti-gravity effect that they were fascinated by. And I discovered that the Nazis were really intrigued with how this worked after exploring places like Central and South America and trying to take what they found at these ancient ruins and sort of re-examine it and reinterpret that ancient information in the language of modern physics, because they believed that the ancient people were very wise and advanced, and therefore they were trying to reproduce some of the majesty that those ancient civilizations had. So once again, like Indiana Jones, there's no doubt about the fact that there could be a Nazi connection between the fact that the Mayan talked about counter-rotating apparatuses in their calendar, and then we find out they have this liquid mercury here. We find out the Nazis are taking counter-rotating apparatus and putting liquid mercury in them and finding strange effects. And then furthermore, I've since discovered that liquid mercury has also been found in the Egyptian pyramids and the Chinese pyramids, probably some other pyramids. So I think that there is some type of a potential important connection between ancient people using liquid mercury, whether or not they created some system or some system was given to them to sort of contribute to this connection between ancient people and their gods or angels, or their perception that there was some intelligent life in the skies.
Technology of the gods.
Yes.
What just a bad segue here, but click here for a report why I will never cruise Carnival again.
Yeah.
I heard a little bit about this from a mutual friend of ours, C. Eric Scott, and I was wondering exactly what do you have to say about it?
That really is a bad segue, man.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It's amazing. I have taken groups on cruises for years now, and some of those groups are up to 100 people in size. And I've done cruises on a variety of cruise lines, but Carnival I will never take a group on again after this last experience. I, believe it or not, was actually in a situation where in this day and age, in the year 2009, I stood on a Carnival cruise ship in the middle of international waters, and there was an uprising of guests with cries of mutiny that escalated to the point to where Carnival was sending out letters threatening to get the federal and local authorities involved to arrest everybody.
Wow.
And it had made a call for the Coast Guard to come on board, and everybody was wondering if this was going to end up in people being dragged away. And here's what it all boiled down to. For one thing, the cruise that we were supposed to take over 7 days, it was supposed to have 4 stops. And it was a cruise that many people had paid over $1,000 a piece to take.
Wow.
So it was going to stop over 7 days in Grand Cayman, Cozumel, which is in Mexico, Belize, and then Roatan Island in Honduras. Well, just before the cruise, they canceled one of the ports, Cozumel, due to the swine flu scare.
Sure.
But they said, don't worry, we're going to give everybody a $20 refund.
Ooh, $20.
Whoa.
$20, yeah. So people were kind of miffed about that, but still people realized, okay, it's some kind of medical thing. This is for our best interest.
Sure.
We got on the cruise. The quality on the cruise left a lot to be desired. In fact, if you find, there's a clip on my website that shows the water coming out of my cabin one night that was indistinguishable from sewage as far as I could tell.
Yeah, we're looking at it right now.
Yeah, and so it wasn't like we were, in a luxurious setting. And then we found out the day before we were going to go to Roatan Island that they had decided to cancel that port as well because there had been some labor disputes around the port. Oh, but don't worry, we're going to give you another $20.
All right, $40.
So
Cool.
now keep in mind, with this policy, you could pay over $1,000 to go on a 7-day cruise with 4 ports. They cancel all the ports.
And they give you an $80 credit.
Dollars back. And for 7 days, you're sitting there in the middle of the ocean with nothing to do but spend your money in their casino and bars.
Oh, wow.
So here is what really pushed it over the edge. The people on the cruise ship discovered that there were several other cruise ships that had our same itinerary, that were also Carnival ships, that had captains who made alternative arrangements so that even though they could not go to Roatan Island, they went to other cool places like Jamaica or one of the Virgin Islands.
Huh.
But for some reason, our captain waited to the last minute, and so everybody gets $20 back.
Awesome.
So here we are in a situation where out of 7 days, we're spending over 5 days just sitting in the middle of the ocean.
Now, have you spoken to a representative in customer service?
Hundreds of people, probably over 1,000 people, they gathered together into this big shouting match in the middle of the promenade on Carnival's ship there. And if you get the website, you'll see.
I see the picture here. Yeah.
And all they wanted was a spokesperson to, realize the logic of what we've just been discussing here, that sure, they have the right to change the itinerary, but come on, you can't expect people to be happy when some of the people I interviewed had come as far away as India or Ireland or, other places to get to Tampa, and then they pay over $1,000 to go on the cruise, and then they get, half of their ports canceled and $40 to show for it. Mm-hmm. So this escalated until finally, without going into a lot of details, over a 2-day period, when Carnival started threatening, even though everybody was being passive, there was nobody throwing a chair, nobody punching anybody. They sent out this very threatening letter. They said that the Coast Guard was going to be boarding soon for a medical emergency, and so people were wondering whether or not this was going to be something intimidating. And then they ended up taking away some of the spokespeople into the Carnival office, and those people emerged, got straight on the elevator, never to be seen again the rest of the cruise. So we don't know if they were confined to their cabins or what. But basically, it was handled very poorly, and despite my numerous requests and the fact that I also work in the media and I've done reports and I'm doing reports on this, nobody from Carnival has contacted me. So even though I'm a person who's brought groups to their business for years and is reporting on this in the media, they still have not acknowledged any of my requests for any sort of explanation for how they feel this is a reasonable way of doing business.
Well, Joshua, we're up against a hard break. Stay tuned with us. We're with Joshua P. Warren. You're listening to World of the Unexplained. We'll be back after this.
And we're back from rainy, cold North Carolina. This is World of the Unexplained. Tonight we got Joshua P. Warren. Give us a call. 1-877-722-7382.
Or 877-SCARE-YOU-TOO.
Yeah. Anyway, and Joshua, we'll start it right away with the UFO that you saw in Laughlin. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I had a really wild, unexpected experience out in Laughlin, Nevada a few months ago. And I'll start by saying that for maybe about a year or less, I'd been hearing interviews here and there with a guy named Ed Grimsley. And Ed had been a guest on a number of programs in which he talked about spending years observing the skies using third-generation night vision technology, similar to what the military uses, and how that he had been able to witness an ongoing battle, as he put it, between spacecraft that were sort of firing at each other. And he had these really sensational stories, and he had video footage of some of this stuff, but I always wondered if he was maybe just looking at satellites and space junk and drawing some pretty far-fetched conclusions. Well, I had an opportunity to see for myself because last February I was invited to be a speaker at the International UFO Congress in Laughlin, Nevada, and that is the largest UFO convention in the world. And Ed Grimsley was also a speaker there, and during the week-long event, he was taking people out into the desert at night with about 8 pairs of these goggles and allowing people to observe the sky and sort of see for themselves. So I went out there one night, and in fact, I'd gotten out there a bit late because I had a previous engagement, and most of the UFOs that you see, he claims, are best seen right after sunset because of the angle of the sun on the upper atmosphere, allowing the infrared signature to be stronger. So since that I was sort of there at the tail end, the large crowd had gone back, and so I was out there in the desert with 4 other people, actually 3 other people. There was a total of 4 of us, and betwixt us we had 3 pairs of these goggles. So this was between 9 and 10 o'clock Pacific time. So here I am looking at the sky, and for one thing, if you've never looked at the sky through third-generation night vision, especially out in the desert when the stars are already bright and clear, it's almost like you've never really seen the sky. The layers of stars, the amount of lights is just mind-boggling. And so I'd been out there for almost an hour, and I was about to call it a night because they said, oh, you really need to come back tomorrow right after sunset. And right at that point, I looked up through this pair of goggles, and I saw something that was so strange that at first I literally thought there was some kind of a digital glitch in the goggles.
Oh.
What I saw overhead was this absolutely enormous linear V-shaped formation that was very slowly and silently passing from the southeast toward the northwest. I took the goggles down, and I said, guys, I'm seeing something weird, and then that's all it took for the 2 other guys to look up, and they were able to spot it as well. The 3 of us stood there watching this thing, and what I can tell you to help you understand how strange this was is that it didn't look like some segmented lights that were forming the illusion of some craft. Instead, it literally looked like, the hand of God had taken a big pencil and drawn an arrow in the sky that was moving across. I've never seen anything that looked so unnatural and foreign. And so this thing silently glided away. Of course, we're excited, and we're using Occam's razor, and we're saying, okay, is it possible that we just saw a formation of geese or something like that,
Right.
As unlikely as that seemed. And in fact, there was a large triangle, a large V shape with a smaller one above it. And so when we got back to the hotel, we found Ed, and he said, oh, so did you guys see anything interesting out there? And we said, yeah. We saw this huge wedge shape in the sky, and we're not sure what the heck we were looking at. We're wondering, could this be possibly geese or something? Ed starts laughing, and he says, let me ask you this. He said, the larger one, did it have one side that was longer than the other? I said, yeah. He said, was there a smaller V over top of the large one? I said, yeah. So he sits there, and he's going down this list of characteristics describing to us exactly what we'd seen before we told him what we had seen. He starts laughing maniacally, and he says, oh, you lucky sons of guns. He said, I've been trying to capture that on video for years. He said, that was a squadron of these spacecraft, and he went into this big, elaborate explanation for why did they keep that tactical formation in order to defend Earth from attacks that are potentially coming in from outer space. At this point, we're thinking, okay, let's listen a little more closely to this guy, because we now have actually seen something weird that goes beyond a little darting light. And we sat there till 3 or 4 in the morning just scratching our heads saying, my God, is this guy actually right? Because he's on to something. We couldn't see that with our naked eyes, but we could see it so clearly through the goggles. So after that, I got hooked. I was like, all right, I need to keep doing this. And I continued going out there in the evening with him. and seeing things that don't seem to match anything conventional. There are people who work with Ed who are experts in how satellites move and how space junk behaves and all that. And regardless of how these things are interpreted, it is incredible what is right above us all the time that we cannot see unless we have the proper tools. So therefore, when I came back home and I started talking to everybody about the magnitude of what I had seen out there, I kept up with Ed's work a little bit more. And so now the two of us have teamed up in a couple of regards. For one thing, he is producing the Ed Grimsley UFO Skywatch that will take place this weekend in Sedona, Arizona. So I'm flying out there on Thursday, and I'll be there for the entire event. I'm speaking, plus I'll be out there in the field, and anybody who lives in the Sedona area, I guess they can still get tickets if they want, and you'll get the opportunity to hear all the speakers, plus go out at night into the desert and actually, see what I'm talking about when you view the sky this way. And then for people who are here on the East Coast, I am flying Ed out here to Asheville to do a 3-night event here in Asheville, North Carolina, June 18th, 19th, and 20th, where he is bringing his equipment, and we're going to have sky watches all 3 nights.
We may have to show up for that.
You must do it, yes. Right here in Western North Carolina, I'll email you after the show and give you details, because for now we're keeping our actual locations where the Skywatch will take place secret, because we don't want people showing up who are going to interfere or contaminate, the lighting. So, but yes, you really have to go out there and give the guy a chance and just see some of the weird stuff that he's been pointing out to people. And if any of your listeners are interested in the Asheville event, they can just go to joshuapwarren.com, and there is no period after the P. But joshuapwarren.com has a link on the homepage to that. Or if you want to go to the Sedona event this weekend, just go to ufoskywatch.com, and you'll get all the details for that.
Now, how far is? Forgive me for my ignorance, but how far is Sedona from Phoenix?
I think it's only about an hour drive.
Okay, so our listeners in Phoenix won't have a hard time finding it.
No, about 60 to 90 minutes. And I've never been to Sedona. I have been to Phoenix just briefly, but I'm looking forward to this. This will be the first time that I've spent any length of time there. And additionally, I'm scheduled to be a speaker also in Phoenix at the Ghost Conference. The Arizona Paranormal Society is doing a big ghost conference on Halloween Day in Phoenix. And I will be there for that event as well, and that is listed under my public appearances on the joshuapwarren.com website.
It's just going to be, a little strange being in Phoenix on Halloween when, it's just, coming from North Carolina, you always think of Halloween as being a cold time of year.
Autumn leaves.
Yeah,
and,
everything's changing, and it's cold, and it's dark.
Skies.
And, But what a different event, though. It sounds really interesting, yeah.
That's what I was thinking, and this is going to be the October event will be the 3rd trip to Phoenix just this year alone, the 3rd trip to Arizona this year alone, because I went to the Grand Canyon in Arizona in February, and then of course I'll be there this weekend in Sedona, and then in October I'll be back there. So I think that the population in Arizona is really sort of leading the way in terms of a lot of these paranormal events right now. And yes, indeed, as a guy who usually makes an effort to stay here in the mountains during the crisp fall on Halloween night, it is certainly going to be strange to be in Phoenix and see what that Halloween scene is like this year.
Now, I want to give you an opportunity to plug your radio show as well. Go ahead.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I do a program every Saturday night when I'm in town. And fortunately, I have some good fill-in hosts because I've been gone so much lately. But it airs 8 to 11 p.m. East Coast time, called Speaking of Strange, and it's broadcast terrestrially here in the southeastern United States, but anybody can listen live or go to hear podcasts at speakingofstrange.com. And in fact, last night I spent majority of the 3-hour show sitting there talking in great detail about my entire expedition to go down to the Mayan ruins. And so for people who might want to get even more info on that, and also some of the crazy stuff that happened on the Carnival ship, you may enjoy the podcast from last night.
Awesome. Well, this looks like a really good event here, a 3-day event in Sky Fishing, Asheville, North Carolina.
Sky Fishing, because that's very appropriately named, I think.
Yeah, it's funny because the more I investigate UFOs, and of course, as you know, I started out 15, 20 years ago, specializing in ghostly activity. And then over time, I, like just about anybody who spends enough years in the paranormal field, eventually realized that all of these things connect at some point. UFOs, cryptids, psychic activity, ghosts, they all are really about this interdimensional sort of communication or interaction that's taking place between us and beings from elsewhere. And so, over time, I have found that if you look at some of the best reports out there regarding UFOs, it almost seems like that people do have the capacity to create UFO sightings. That when you get enough people together and they want to see something, then a UFO will show up. Now, that could mean that people have the ability to create these things, which is what a lot of parapsychologists would tell you, people who are interested in telekinesis and the idea of the tulpa, that collective consciousness can manifest and take on its own independent reality. Or it could be that enough people together sending out some type of signal that is currently undocumented by mainstream science is something that shows up on the radar, so to speak, of some of these craft. So the term sky fishing is sort of generally applied to getting groups of people out there who are like-minded, who want to see something, who might be able to draw or create the experience, and then to have the technology that Ed has got just takes it to the next level, because these goggles, they cost over $5,000 per set.
Ooh.
And unfortunately, over the years, when Ed has done sky watches, a few of them have grown legs and walked off.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, and that hits you pretty hard, when you lose $5,000 because some jerk shows up at your sky watch at night when it's dark and walks off with your technology. So we're lucky that he's willing to do this. He's got $40,000 worth of gear that he's exposing there to the public in a very trusting manner, and this technology is so advanced that it is actually illegal to take it outside of the United States.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, it is considered by Homeland Security potentially compromising intelligence technology that could, in the long run, hurt U.S. interests.
I've got a email from a guy that calls himself, Peter from Australia. Are you still with us, Josh?
Yes, uh-huh.
This just came in about 25 minutes ago, and we just checked the email. It says, basically, I once saw a ghost while driving late at night. As I turned a corner, I saw what I first thought to be a person crossing the street. It was real enough to cause me to slow down because I didn't want to hit them. As I approached, I noticed it had a light blue silhouetted form, and realized it was a ghost. It must have been there for around 5 seconds or so, but then it vanished. Is there any special significance to its blue color?
That is an excellent question, and yes, that is probably the most significant part of Peter's description, so I'm glad he sent that to you. I was one of the first people to really try to gather a great deal of data about the relationship or the seeming relationship between what people describe when they see a ghost and what we can reproduce in the laboratory using electrostatic charges. And this year, my team actually has a brand new laboratory that we're putting together. We're very excited about getting that thing operational. But, when you get into scenarios where you turn off the lights and you turn on Van de Graaff machines and Wimshurst machines and Tesla coils and all these devices that are actually capable of creating ghostly effects in the lab, devices that can make objects move without any visible physical means, things that can make your hair stand on end, can give you cold chills, can do many of those things that people describe. You usually find a bluish corona around them, And that blue corona is a pretty well, dead giveaway that you're looking at some type of an electrostatic manifestation. And I think that when ghosts appear, that there is some type of a disturbance in the atmosphere, whether or not they create it or they appear because of it. I'm still not sure. The cause and effect is a great mystery. But there is some type of an electrostatic disturbance there which allows us to very temporarily have this access to them on a limited basis. And that's why you not only see the ghostly image, but you also see this luminous sort of aspect they have being produced by the energy that's disturbed around them in the electrostatic field.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it really is. I've never really even heard about that.
Thank you, Peter, for the email there in
Excellent.
Australia. Interesting. Well, Josh, I was just thinking back. We've known each other now probably, 9 years, 10 years?
These days, the way the years are flying by, I'm stunned when I sit back and look at how long I've done something or known somebody. So, yes, I remember us long ago, for example, tromping through the old mansion next to the Grove Park Inn at night. Yeah, and that's a creepy place.
With the psychomanteum set up downstairs.
Oh, yeah, boy. Talk about bravery. The psychomanteum it's one of those things that I want to dig deeper into over the years. In fact, I have a psychomanteum that is actually constructed at my house. I have a whole room devoted to it. And for listeners who don't know what we're talking about, it basically is a technique that goes back thousands of years. The origin was apparently with the ancient Greece, and it's based on using a very particular setting, incorporating a reflective object like a mirror or a cauldron, and creating some type of a ghostly encounter. And I'm not talking about mere scrying here. I'm talking about a situation in which, with the proper mental preparation, you put yourself in this environment with the right lighting, and you sit down in a chair and you relax with this mirror in front of you, and people describe seeing apparitions emerge from the mirror. And I built a psychomanteum here at my house to what should be the best specifications in the world. In fact, I even took a whole course with Dr. Raymond Moody, who sort of rediscovered and modernized the psychomanteum technique, and learned from him everything I could. And, I built it, and I wasn't sure what to expect. And then there was this young lady who came over to my house who was a guest of a couple of friends. She knew nothing about the psychomanteum or any of that. Somebody brought up psychomanteum. She said, "What's that?" And I said, wait. Before anybody tells her, I said, "Would you mind participating in a little experiment?"
Oh, no. You're an evil man, Joshua.
No kidding, yeah. I took her into the psychomanteum room. I left her in there for only about 20 or 30 minutes. When I walked inside, she was sobbing.
Oh, my
absolutely
gosh.
a wreck. Just a very intense emotional situation. Her dead grandmother, who had raised her, had appeared, had emerged from the mirror as a full three-dimensional interactive form, had embraced her, had said, "I love you," words that could not be said on the deathbed, kissed her on the cheek, and then turned around and dissolved back into the darkness. And this experience was so real for this young woman that was the end of the night for her. She had to go home, and that was the first of many such experiences that have come out of the psychomanteum here at my house.
And that's why you won't catch me in there. But
if Scott's there, just tell him the bathroom is,
Yeah, no, I'll figure that one out quick when I hear the fan running and I see the light go out. Not a good thing. But Josh, thanks so much for coming on the show tonight, man. We really appreciate it. And tell our listeners one more time about your Sedona event.
Absolutely. It starts this weekend in Sedona, and if you go to UFOskywatch.com, you can see all the speakers, the setup, and the great thing about this event is that you're not only able to go there and listen to the programs, but you're also able to go out into the field with the technology and see for yourself what we're talking about when you look at the sky through this gear. And there is absolutely no substitute for seeing it in person, and that's what we're going to do in Sedona this weekend.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you very much for being on the show. You've got to have me on when we get this Sleepy Hollow video done.
Oh, I cannot wait for that. I'm really looking forward to it. So, yeah, you've done a brilliant job, a genius job putting together a project that's going to have a lot of interest. So that is a done deal. And as always, thank you for having me on the program, and we'll keep in touch, my friend.
All right. Thanks so
Excellent,
much, Joshua.
Thank you so much.
And that was Joshua P. Warren, paranormal investigator, talk radio host, and author.
David Hatcher Children.
I was going to say Indiana Jones. Yeah, I mean, a wonderful guy with a lot of wonderful talents. I've noticed that I've been taken off of the Lemur website as part of the crew. What's going on with that? I'm gonna have to hit him up on email. I used to be the what was it, a news affiliate or something like that?
Yeah.
No longer.
But check him out also on his radio show, Speaking of Strange, as well.
Yeah, and if you go back some past years, I think one Easter Sunday, me and Verado from Verado Live out there, we got into a big fight.
Wow, that was a good one.
I was defending Christianity, and he was just defending his heretic ways.
It was,
it was horrible.
Universalist
I showed
ideas.
him. So I got the last laugh on that, brother.
That was a really good one, actually. You guys need to check that out.
Yeah, it was a couple Easters ago, I think.
Yeah, it was
maybe three Easters
morning.
Ago. I don't know. Yeah, probably 3 Easters ago.
I think 3 is about right. So
it got pretty hairy though. Anyway, this is Jay Scott, your only JDDJ. Well, I can't say that now. They just added Neil Bortz to KFNX, so I'm not the only JDDJ on this affiliate anymore.
He is a lawyer. You're the other JD.
I guess so. Trent?
Okay, well, this is Trent Lackey. We're coming to you from Kernersville, North Carolina. That was very staged. A small town where we talk about big things.
We'll see you guys next week.